friends, hope you are well and hope this week is treating you better than the last one. Looks like Australia is on its way out of a semi-lockdown and states are slowly reopening, so that's great news for many, I'm sure. Let me know below if, what's the first thing you're going to do when you get out, when you are free? Geez, that sounds like you all have been in jail. In any case, now I'm hoping that slowly but surely we can dig our way out of this economic hole, hopefully with some lessons learned. But who knows if anyone's actually learned anything. So instead of that, let's talk about tech and telco news. Welcome, my name is Pat and this is the Dirt Report, the weekly analysis of Australian tech news. Not a lot of them though, as much as I can fit in roughly 10 minutes. So top stories this week: NBN Co gets dollar bills, y'all. NBN results in the green. Broadband tax delayed, like your Amazon delivery. COVIDSafe is now safer than safe, and Foxtel rises from the ashes like a stoned phoenix. Let's see what happens with that one. Let's get straight into our first topic. You thought it was over. You thought it was done. The rollout of the NBN is complete. Well, supposedly soon. But how wrong were you? Months from the deadline and NBN Co secures an extra $6.1 billion in funding. Well, it's not as simple as that. It's not a gift, it's not a cash injection, it's financing, it's a loan, it's repayable amount. NBN Co has borrowed $6.1 billion from the national and international banks to bring forward upgrades to the network. The total amount of $6.1 billion is split into two parts. First off, $2 billion, which was the original sought out after amount, but they then decided to take an additional $4.1 billion, just like that, to secure some flexibility in the future, which basically means they will more than likely go over budget on the $2 billion for all the upgrades that are necessary. Here is what Finance Minister Matthias Cormann said. The government had flagged some time ago that it expected NBN Co to pursue debt financing through external markets, including in order to start the process of refinancing its loan with the Commonwealth. NBN Co approached the bank market with a request for an initial $2 billion, as foreshadowed in its 2020-23 corporate plan. Given the positive response from the market, NBN Co has secured additional lines of credit totaling $4.1 billion at very competitive prices. Now, Communication Minister Paul Fletcher said NBN Co is expected to draw down $2 billion from the total raise to complete the NBN rollout in 2 months due to higher ongoing costs and the failure of the HFC network, while the remaining funding will provide investment opportunities and value creation in the future. So then NBN will divvy up the rest of the $4.1 billion. It seems that $2.6 billion will be used for strategic investment with a positive return beyond the initial rollout phase and repayment of the Commonwealth loan. Some of the money will also be used to pay down their loan to the government. Though at $19.5 billion, I'm not sure how much of a dent that will make, especially when they also need those amounts left over for the network to become more profitable. I would never get a credit card to pay off another credit card, but it seems that the government's loan has some sort of worse deal than what the banks have offered them. Another point to add is that back in March, NBN Co was valued at only $8.7 billion, which is not particularly a lot compared to what was invested. But this also includes the loans needing to be paid off, so within that value. Now, we hope that this would also include potential network upgrades and hopefully bringing these upgrades closer. In fact, it would also help stimulate the economy if NBN Co started doing major upgrades around Australia, employing more people and other service companies. I think NBN Co is doing their best to dig themselves out of the hole that the Liberals created with the multi-technology mix and obviously the implementation of that. And more than likely, it's all they can do without going against their financiers. Let me know what you think about this new loan. Will it help? Or is it just the first loan of many? Let's chat in the comments below. And this is a good segue into our next topic, because all these loans wouldn't be happening if NBN Co didn't have a potential of paying that money back, which is a good sign. After all, banks aren't loan sharks. They're loan sharks with principles, you see. So in a recent report, the third quarter results show that NBN Co has exceeded its rollout, revenue and activation targets. A positive sign, even though it's $300K short on activations, though this is expected to be completed by June. However, on the positive side, NBN Co has been very supportive over the COVID-19 pandemic in Australia. They offered retailers 40% in capacity for 5 months for free, and they set out a $150 million financial relief package to help ISPs connect low-income families with homeschooling needs, including small business and homes facing financial hardships. So here's a quick summary of the March report. Total revenue of $2.8 billion, up 38% on last year. Earnings before interest, tax, depreciation and amortization before subscriber costs of $1.25 billion. Monthly residential average revenue per user of $45, up from $44 last year. Now, keep that amount in mind for a moment, we'll come back to it in a second. Business revenue of $496 million, up from $341 million last year. 11.2 million premises ready to connect and 6.9 million premises activated. Increased customer demand drives achievement of 7 million connected premises 2 months ahead of the full year target. That's some really compelling results. However, Chief Financial Officer Philip Knox said measures to improve speeds and support struggling customers during the coronavirus crisis meant average revenue per user would be stuck at $45 a month for the rest of the financial year, though up from $44 as we just heard. However, this is purely due to the COVID pandemic? I don't know. I think upgrading is also part of the reason. Now, in order to pay for itself and avoid a write-down, NBN Co's residential average revenue per user must hit $49 per month by 2023. It also relies on a total revenue from business customers hitting $1.2 billion by the same year. Now, Mr. Ru insisted NBN Co was on track to hit both targets, but we'll see what happens. NBN Co is relying on customers upgrading to higher speed plans to boost that average revenue per user by the required $4. Now, Mr. Ru said customers were upgrading to these new plans despite the stagnant ARPU figure. My thoughts are that I would be more than happy to upgrade my internet plan if I could reach those higher offered speeds. If not, it would be illogical for me to pay more for nothing. Now, to summarize, revenue is up, new loans for upgrades, and by 2023, the price will go up by $4 per connection. It will just have to go up because they have to hit those targets. And then there is our next topic, because again, it's about numbers. Do you remember the broadband tax? Well, it's come full circle. It's back with a vengeance. In fact, it's back and it has passed Parliament. However, the good news is for ISPs is that the start date has been delayed. This is a tax on non-NBN Co operated fixed line services. Without acting like a dictatorship, they want to drive self-operated services out and onto the NBN network. This has been in the works for over 3 years, and while it is supposed to start in July 2020, it will now start in January 2021. I'm glad it has been delayed. After all, this isn't the time to pack on more tax. But let me know in the comments below if you agree for the NBN to tax services that are not part of their network. You see, residential and business users of the NBN equivalent fixed line services will be charged with a monthly fee of $7.10. The proceeds will be used as additional income streams for NBN Co to fund future costs of commercial, unviable portions of its network, mainly the satellite and fixed wireless footprints. Okay, let's move on to our favorite app, COVIDSafe. How safe have you been? It has been analyzed to death, and so far so good. It seems like your privacy is secure and your data is technically safe. The app is in fact getting more updates, which is a good thing. However, the reason for the topic is that if you don't update, and many people don't, or forget to, or have auto updates off, then again, it's a digital paperweight. It seems the most recent updates have significant enough changes to make the older versions useless. So an update is required for it to function as intended. Now, first off, the Privacy Amendment Public Health Contact Information Bill cleared the Senate without amendments this week, meaning that privacy is now protected by law, not just hearsay. Now, a few issues still stand: effectiveness of the Bluetooth on iOS devices and giving Amazon Web Services the contract to hold the data. Even though they would be criminally liable if any data leaves Australia, it's still a concern. It's an American company. While we have had 5.8 million downloads total at the end of this week, that doesn't necessarily mean that it wasn't removed after the fact, and it doesn't mean that the device is working correctly with the app. We don't actually know how many are live. I'm sure they will release those statistics soon, but at the moment all we get is how many people downloaded it. On the other side, the DTA released the source code for COVIDSafe app late last week, but will not be releasing the code that relates to the National Data Service. So where they actually capture the information and check it and control it on the AWS service. We're not going to get to see that at all. Data is safe, app seems to be getting there slowly. This might be potentially a successful rollout for the government supplied app. in the scale of things and comparably to other things. Let me know below if you downloaded the app. I certainly would like to know. I have put out a poll on YouTube. You might see that on your feed. As 2 weeks ago, I put a post asking if you were going to download the app. Now, 70% of you said no, and I wonder if your mind has changed and if you end up downloading the app now. All right, last one, it's Foxtel. Because it might be getting fixed soon. All right, so Foxtel, what's going on, man? What have they been up to? Well, it seems Foxtel is trying to rise out of the ashes of its empire, and how, you may wonder? Well, it's finally moving onto a streaming app, a full-on real app. None of that Foxtel Go half-assed crap. It has been reported that Foxtel began beta testing a new service platform with launch expected in weeks. And damn it, if this will be reasonably priced way to watch HBO content, they might be onto something, or maybe a slight winner. Now, the name of the app might be, drumroll please, Binge. Very clever. Really millennial. I mean, it fits. I sort of approve. Though I would have preferred something like Foxy. You know, in a few years we could go around saying, hey bro, did you watch the latest Game of Thrones remake on Foxy? Isn't it amazing? Now, what content can you expect? Well, in a multi-year deal with Warner Media, expect a lot of HBO content. This app is going to be kind of the HBO Max for Australia. My concern is, why hasn't Warner Media cancelled or not renewed their deals with Foxtel and released HBO Max in Australia themselves? I'm sure removing the middleman means more cash for them, but I'm also starting to think that they just don't have enough content to justify being in Australia without making huge losses to get set up. So Foxtel is their way into the Australian market. The deal ensures Foxtel remains the exclusive home of HBO in Australia. It also gives the majority-owned News Corp broadcaster the exclusive rights to original series from HBO's highly anticipated streaming service, HBO Max, which launches in the US on May 27th. Hey, let me know in the comments below if you would be binging HBO shows on Binge. It sounds exciting, but if it's going to cost more than $15, I'm going to call it now, Australia will still pirate HBO content. Friends, thank you very much for watching this week's update. Hope you enjoyed the Dirt Report. Tune in next week for more news and maybe some opinions and some bad jokes. Remember, if you like this video, then tap that like button, and if you would like to see more, then please consider subscribing to this channel. It helps a lot. It's basically the only support you guys can give. Thanks for watching, and bye!